3D Rising is out on Mercer Island in Washington State, just next to Seattle. And we're talking to Ian O'Hearn, the head coach at Mercer Island, which is the host school for the Northwest Invitational. And Coach, just tell us a little bit about this event. It draws, obviously, teams from the Pacific Northwest, a great collection of teams here this year.
We started it, this is our 13th year. I think it was 2006 was our first year, and it was a few local Washington teams, and we had Cape Elizabeth from Maine, just outside of Portland, come out for our inaugural Northwest Invitational. And over the years, it's grown. This year, I think we have 18 teams. It's just an invitational, not a tournament. And we started it to get some more high-level competition or just teams from different regions, so we get the experience of playing different styles. And over the years, we've had teams from Tennessee, Utah, New York, Westchester, and Section 2, Albany area come out. A lot of Nevada teams come every year, a lot of Oregon teams. We've had Hellgate from Montana, Idaho teams, and a couple of British Columbia teams. And in the top 4, 5, 6 best Washington teams every year.
And so that does give a great opportunity for you guys to have some interstate games, Washington versus Oregon, but not only that, this is a showcase of all those different states and the talented teams that they have. As somebody from New York, you're from the Albany area, just talk about what you've been able to see, hosting this event in terms of the growth of lacrosse.
Well, I mean, it's reflective of the whole country and especially the West Coast, the Western states. The competition level gets better every year. More and more teams want to come every year, which just shows you how many more teams are popping up around the West Coast. It's been great. It's been great.
As the head coach of Mercer Island, just talk about you're known as one of the most impressive programs on the West Coast, and we've been able to see you 2 out of the last 3 years, and in our humble opinion, we validated that. Just talk about building this program and what you've tried to do to create a culture of lacrosse and winning here.
Probably the most important thing we did was put all our emphasis on our youth program. We have our varsity kids coach our K-4 programs, and it's a very cyclical community program where all our kindergarten through 4th graders and 5th, 6th graders come to watch their coaches play every Friday night in the varsity games. And then when those kids get to high school, they get excited to coach the youth because they remember having varsity players as their coaches when they're young. So a lot of emphasis on the youth program. We really emphasize multi-sport athletes, so we want our kids playing football or basketball or wrestling or hockey if they have the opportunity in the off season. But at the same time, we offer opportunities in the fall. We offer opportunities in the winter to keep in the summer. We travel a lot in the summer as a high school team. The other big thing is we go back east every year for spring break to expose our kids to the epicenter, the home of lacrosse. We usually go to New York or New England. And we want them to see where the sport came from and where it's played at the highest level. We try to get the best competition we can back there, and we always go see some college games and visit some college campuses, get some culture in whatever city we're in, Boston, New York, Philadelphia last year. That's a youth program and traveling to areas where it's been an established sport longer than it has been here.
This weekend gave you the opportunity to play 2 tough games, and you came away with 2 big W's. Just talk about what you liked out of your team this weekend.
There was when you're having a good year, you battle with complacency, and we were worried that they might be getting a little cocky and not take these opponents seriously. And I knew they were both very good teams, and they did that. They came out and they were not complacent, and they played hard for 4 quarters, and they were both very good teams and perennial powerhouses down in Oregon, which is always a good, kind of state-to-state rivalry. So we were very happy with their performance.
We've been hanging out with you the last couple of days and talking to you about lacrosse out here on the West Coast and in the Pacific Northwest, and seeing how deeply you're involved. And in your opinion, as a proud former Great Dane 2000 grad, just talk about the sport of lacrosse and why it's so attractive to lacrosse players out here, or to athletes out here, and to their families. And as the sport has more of an emphasis on getting kids to college, why is that finding such traction here?
I think a lot of West Coast kids, or my kids that have gone back east to play NCAA varsity lacrosse, they love the sport. Most people that play love the sport, and I think they want to prove that they can play at the highest level. And right now there's only one NCAA varsity program on the West Coast, that's Whittier. So in order to play at the highest level, they have to go back east. And so at least in our program, we have a lot of kids going back because they want to keep playing. that's back there. As far as kids getting drawn to the sport, I mean, it sells itself. You know, I would say it's different than any other sport that I've ever played or been around. And like I was saying with the growth of our program, it's very much a community sport. It's all about, you know, it's team first. It's a team sport, obviously. So I think certain athletes get attracted to the culture aspect of it. You know, we've built a culture here, and we've based that off. You know, West Jenny is the perennial example in New York. You know, you build the culture, and it will maintain the consistency for the duration. So I think the kids are attracted to the culture, the winning culture, the structure.
Speaking of West Jenny, you know, it's a school that sent so many of its alumni off to different states that have gone on to become coaches at the college level or high school level. And you, as a guy from New York State, it's another example of the story we see all over the country. Talk about how important it's been to have guys come from where the hotbeds really are, that know the game and root themselves in it. I don't know how many years you've been out here in total, but obviously that's what you've done, and we've seen other coaches that you've introduced us to this week. You know, guys from Baltimore, people from Long Island, who are doing the same in their necks of the woods.
I think it's very important. I've been out here since 2002. This is my 17th year coaching for Mercer Island. There are a lot of East Coast transplants in all the Western states where lacrosse is popping up, and it definitely helps. But I'd also say there are some coaches here, some of them, you know, in my opinion, some of the best coaches in Washington are Washington products. They grew up here. Some of them played in college, some of them didn't, but they're passionate about the sport and they put the time and effort in, and they've become phenomenal coaches too. So I think it's a balance. I think the East Coast transplants may help initiate in certain areas, but I think the local guys are the ones that are, you know, really passionate about growing the sport in their hometowns, and they've done a lot of work. So you can't overlook the local guys.
And that's something we definitely noticed this weekend. Thanks so much for having us here, Coach, and thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming.